Si la cybersécurité n'est pas un jeu, elle emprunte de nombreuses notions au sport collectif. Elle nécessite des talents et compétences individuelles, mais également une intelligence collective. Elle suppose de s'adapter en permanence à un environnement dynamique. Stratégie, tactique et combinaison de jeux jouent un rôle déterminant. Les attaquants infiltrent vos lignes pour mener les attaques. Utilisateurs, développeurs, administrateurs réseau et systèmes, RSSI, experts cloud, tous ces acteurs doivent donc coopérer pour une cybersécurité efficace. De même que les États et autorités nationales, dans cet espace numérique qui ne connaît pas de frontières. Le terrain cyber est en effet mouvant et brumeux, ce qui donne à l'attaquant l'avantage de la surprise et de l'anonymat. Et contrairement au sport, il n'y a pas d'arbitre et aucune règle du jeu universellement reconnue. Comment renforcer la coopération entre les acteurs? Comment susciter l'adhésion et l'esprit d'équipe? Quels enseignements tirer des sports d'équipe?
Bonjour à toutes, bonjour à tous et bienvenue à cette...
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this thematic plenary session to do with cybersecurity and sports and the parallel between both. Welcome to you all here and you who are connected following this thematic plenary session remotely. So whether you're here or away, you've got simultaneous translation equipment. And when you're online, I mean, you can choose the language that you wish to hear. So I wish you to react on hashtag FIC 2022. You can react, and I've got Gilles Rapaport, our cartoonist, who will follow the debate and give us his outlook on things. I'm delighted to be here on the stage with you and to and a lot of people told me that they were jealous of me. I'm delighted to welcome on the scene, because we're talking about security and sports. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Serge Betsen, a well-known sports person.
Qu'ils étaient nombreux à vouloir être à ma place.
I can tell you how many of them they were to want to be in my shoes. So for the rare people who don't know you, I mean, I'm going to introduce you. I mean, you are today a rugby coach in Rouen for the racing club in Rouen. For people of my generation who've known you and all the emotions that you created with the Biarritz Olympic and the French team, you won the Grand Chelem twice. 2002, 2004, indeed. And you represent, I mean, you are really the representation of what defense is. You are the true image of a defender. I mean, I know you as the mowing machine, the reaper. And we're talking about cybersecurity and the parallel that we can do with sports. You told us what defense is like. You embodied it, and we heard you saying that rugby is the best sport in the world. Why is that? Good afternoon, everybody. It's true that rugby made me discover my own personality, team spirit, and very often I say that rugby is one of the best sports in the world because each person has its own role to play in the team, and thanks to these numbers and position on the field, the actions complement one another, and we are one individual to help the collective action, and we've got to coordinate and to combine our actions so that we can win. So the fighting collective sport, it is the fighting collective sport which is the best in the world. Why does the French team wins? It wins for three reasons. I mean, the first reason is that the federation, the clubs, is the second reason, and the players. So three pillars, three posts that enabled us to communicate, to collaborate, to try and make the actions long-lasting. And we congratulate Bernard Laporte for the job he did in the federation. But thanks to the job done by the clubs, they manage to combine forces and strengths, because in my generation, the player I was frustrated because there was a kind of inner war between the federation and the club, internal war, but now they managed to find a communication ground to when the French team wins. It's the French rugby as a whole which wins, and it's the players enjoying being between the club and the federation. We could talk about the whole industry, the whole of the cybersecurity scope, private companies, public companies, para-public companies, governmental stakeholders, the regulation in the field. I mean, all these stakeholders have to collaborate. We heard a lot about communication and collaboration to enable to put winners in the light. Yes, the work that Bernard Laporte initiated, but Fabien Galtier afterwards mainly, there's a need to join the clubs and to solicit the players in the club. He managed to pass on positive, constructive messages to help the clubs to free the players to join the national team, and giving them also recovery time. Fabien Galtier today recruits 45 players, and those 45 years go in to join the national team and go back into the clubs. And we don't see in the papers words of criticism of the work done in the national team. So there's a kind of complementarity in the action of both sides. Yeah, the whole communication has changed between the federation and the clubs. We're the Forum of Cybersecurity. The boss of the defense is not French. Fabien Galtier looked abroad to get this kind of asset, and we heard about the different collaboration between the different stakeholders and at different level to have champions coming into the light. You embody defense. I mean, for us, for my generation, but much more. I mean, you embody defense in the rugby world. You are the image of the defender. I mean, in my mind, anyway. What are the values to develop to have a good defense? For the small story, I started to play rugby when I was 12 in Clichy-la-Garenne, and my first training was the putting down a person. I mean, the cladding. It's a girl that made me find that. So the idea of defense is to be respectful of the rules. It's true that today, as defense coach, we're putting strategies in place. Each player must respect the defense structure that my team is putting in place. Then there's the idea of having a kind of ambition to be able to constantly stand up, to be able to then put the other person down. So for me, there's a family spirit also. That even if there's been a mistake being made, it doesn't matter. We get going again. It's like the lion spirit for me, where the success rate for lion is very low, of 35 to 40%, but it's his capacity to bounce back. and to start to get moving again, not to let anything go. I mean, this mentality of always continuing to fight when we think that everything is over. The key to anticipate and to win a match or a battle is to know the field, is to know the environment, the opponent. How do you develop this knowledge of all these parameters, the field, the opponent? I think that in my past history, some things made me discover a region, a country. I was born in Cameroon, and I left Cameroon when I was 9 to come back to France. I discovered rugby at Clichy-la-Garenne, leaving Clichy to go to Biarritz, where I played 17 years, and I wrapped up my career in England with an OROSP. I every time wanted to be in connection with people, to be related to other people. Rugby opened the field of what's possible for me, going towards the other person to try and understand what he does and why he's doing it, to make that my own and to progress in my own personal development. This notion of being open-minded is important. You're living in a changing world which is fast developing. You've got to be able to step back and say, okay, this I don't know how to do it. And very often I thought that rugby, I didn't know it because of my past. I know rugby thanks to the people around me, because I use their experience, their skills, their competence. So it's very important to be open-minded and to go towards people. I left the Parisian area when I was 18 to move to Biarritz, southwest France, and I discovered a Basque culture which was totally different from mine in the Paris suburb. I needed to understand this culture before I could set up in Biarritz, where I lived for 17 years. And again, I wanted to look for elements which made me feel good in my mind, in my body, in the region I just was introduced. So there's also this notion of going towards the other person, and that makes me what I am. It was the same when I left Biarritz to live to the UK with its dual culture, which is when we're talking about the same sport, we've got the same rules, but they're used in a different matter. They're implemented in a different way, and that's a very rich experience. And I got richer thanks to that. To say that my sport, as in life and as in cybersecurity, you've got to be able to open up to the other people. Again, cybersecurity, I didn't think about it. You talked about the lion resilience. I mean, how do you bounce back and take advantage of defeat? Failing help us to bounce back when we are aware of the aspects we can have an action on. I've got a small story. My first Six Nation tournament in the year 2000. I had my first selection in 97. From 97 to 2003, it's difficult when he doesn't know why he's been selected, and I wondered whether I would join the French national team again. And when that day came, that was in the year 2000, and I'm playing against Wales. That was my second selection. I'm on the bench. I walk on the field. We win the match. I'm the happiest man on earth. And the third selection is the crunch against England. And I'm on my bench. After 1 minute 30, I get a yellow card. And Bernard Laporte said that I wouldn't play in the French national team as long as he remained a coach. And this yellow card made me change my level of play, because I realized that I had to recreate myself I had to develop my resilience to think that I would play regularly for the national French team. I did a lot of work on myself, on the possibility for me to manage my emotions, to develop my skills, the same as you in cybersecurity. You've got new elements that you are not aware of, but you've got to go and look for them to increase your competence. And in 2002, 2 years later, the French team wins the first Grand Slam of the Six Nation tournament. And today I'm still reminded about this match against Johnny Wilkinson, which was quite revealing for me, going from the red card until winning. So we can overcome difficult moments, but every time we've got to be able to believe in oneself and give yourself all what is necessary to be able to bounce back. I think that the parallel with cybersecurity and all the eco environment is quite clear. Thank you very much to give us the opportunity to welcome you here in the FIC and to start this plenary session. Thank you. Thank you. So I suggest we continue, and I'm going to ask our speakers to come and join us on the stage.
Messieurs,
Gentlemen,
bonjour, merci beaucoup d'être
welcome and thank you for joining us. On my right at the end, General Jean-Philippe Lecouve, your Executive Deputy Manager of the Europol Actions. Next to you, Faradi Likoud, who's responsible for, who's a CISO of Decathlon, and Monsieur Fayon, President and Executive Manager of Cyber Defense. I don't know whether you were as happy and as moved after meeting with George Betzen. I was delighted to meet George Betzen. I mean, we are basically the same age. Big moment in the rugby history, so thank you very much, Serge. Thank you. Thank you, Serge. Delighted to hear you. As a sum up, I mean, it echoed the Tokyo Olympic Games. I mean, the key word was faster, higher, stronger, together. And he embodied all this. He embodied this motto within a couple of minutes. Thank you, Serge, for these few words, really interesting words. I mean, it means a lot to us. I mean, I'm a rugby fan, but it echoes with the cybersecurity element. The parallel you did with the defense is that I mean, we're putting our opponent down. I mean, that's the purpose of the game, and to avoid them getting back up on their feet, even if that's not always the case. But I mean, we always get up on our feet to try and counter them in their actions. Parallel with the rugby reminded me in the work we do with Europol of the Barbarians team. I don't know whether Serge was a part of those teams where we try and put together people coming from different countries to work together. Yeah, Barbarians, you're right. I mean, the human dimension is at the center of any team sport, and obviously you need to have individual skill, but also the team mindset. I mean, what is the role of the coach? I mean, when we talk about cybersecurity, I mean, I think that there's a notion which is crucial. I mean, for Orange Cyber Defense, we're starting with that. I mean, we start with that. In our company, the common value is building up a digital society which will be stronger. I mean, this cement federates and is at the origin of everything. And that helps us to keep up through time. Cybersecurity is not twice 45 minutes mashed. It's twice 40 minutes, sorry, yeah, twice 40 minutes. And cybersecurity is an endurance sport, and with this cement, I mean, you can last. In cybersecurity, there's no spectators to help you, so you've got to hold, thanks to the collective. There's no grandstand. It's something that the cyber community can progress on. It's recognition, acknowledging all those people who guarantee the security of the companies, but it's also to develop the winning spirit. Very often when you're in cybersecurity, we know the defeat. It's when an attack is successful. Everybody hears about it, but we don't celebrate in the reverse all the attacks that we have stopped. For Orange cyber defense, we're trying to develop this winning spirit. We stopped this attack, bravo, hands together, and that's why we're here. That's what our purpose is, and it's a true collective action. Thank you, Laurent. I mean, I can but agree with what you just said. I mean, I can't go away with the Decathlon value. It's a sports company for sports people and non-sports people. We want to look after the planet through our activity. Cybersecurity is a job which is not well known, so we've got to have a vision, translate it into strategy and objectives, and gain the trust of your peers, our end users, or staff, men and women doing their job on a daily basis. Yeah, you've got to be tough, you've got to play the referee, you've got to challenge, you've got to question, you've got to challenge your roles also. You've got to sometimes go play the attacker or the defender. So you've got to be able to use different materials with different sports. And when we talk about collective sports, it's also the shareholders, it's the trust of our management, and the trust of all the stakeholders altogether. From my young career, I think only cybersecurity is the only sector which is cross-sectional. So we've got to talk about all the stakeholders, gain their trust, prove our results. There are some defeats. We've got to learn lessons from them and re-instill the energy into our teams afterwards. For leadership, I mean, for the question of leadership, I think it's important because we are dealing with topics which can be misinterpreted or badly understood, which might be a specialist affair, and yet everybody's impacted. We can see cyber criminals attacking everybody now. Nobody is spared. I mean, you've always had spam, you always had fraud, hacking attempts, so some of you might be victims of that, actually. In this area, as in others, it's important to go up to the front line and say, okay, there's a topic on which we've got to face. This is an issue we've got to face all together. I mean, as Serge said, for defense, there's a role for each person to be played, as in a rugby team. But the role of each person, the sacrifice that you're going to consent to at one point will be for the good of others. So you've got to be able to say that and to show that actions of each entity, each stakeholder is at the service of all the others. Farid, I mean, how do we organize collective intelligence within your team? And which team, which profile, which mission do we assign to them? I like people who like things, who are enthusiastic. It might be a bit of a caricature to have a good mind and to be enthusiastic. We've got our competence. We delayed creating cyber skills or cyber skilled staff, and we're paying the price for it. not just at Decathlon, but I always thought about diversity, inclusivity, and investing on our young forces, going to get the younger people skills, mentoring them, coaching them, getting them from their school age. Is the mentality of the company, which is to get young plants, so to speak, and to get them to grow, help them to grow. We need to have people who are very good in their mind, in their writing, in forensic domain, in research. We've got to create a bridge with the business world. I mean, cybersecurity is very often associated only with IT specifications, but I mean, there are a lot of other interesting sectors. And the leader is the conductor, detecting what the best is in each person, and also the work on the weakness or weaker areas in the organization. Is a coordination with defense, which is compensate with the symmetry between attack and defense, but can cyber criminality defenses win over the attacker? The link between defender and attacker is 1 out of 6 versus the defender. So 6 defender against 1 attacker, and we might have the answer to reverse this relationship. I mean, 3 elements might be interesting. The knowledge of the threat. If you don't know the threat, you will go blank. So to block any new attack form is really crucial to where the attacker. Second aspect is innovation. If you're static, they'll bypass you. So you've got to change your IT game pitch to make the role of the attacker more difficult, the intensivity aspect. And third element is the defense spirit, and we can see that in the geopolitical situation. The Ukrainians have got this defense spirit, and that's why they're holding strong. This defense spirit is present in teams in charge of security in companies. Is it present, though, with each user? It should. Our statistics show that 80% of the attacks that we see, we treated more than 100,000 last year. 80% of the attacks, the user is in the kill chain, willingly or not willingly. It's part of the defense system. So there are 3 levels to help you counterbalance this power balance, which is unfavorable between the defender and the attacker. The knowledge of one's environment, I mean, the environment of the cybersecurity moves a lot, is changing fast. How do we work on the knowledge of this environment of the field? How do we develop this issue? There's the traditional method of audits. What's interesting today is now we've got automated tools which help you to map your IT and to maintain this mapping. There was a major mapping specialist, Lacoste, saying geography at the beginning is to be at war. So CISO, I mean, remember that. I mean, mapping is something that enables you to go to war.
Well, we do not know our playing field. Sometimes this is bringing complexity, this is creating difficulties, but to come back to word Serge used, we have to work out our resilience level because the attack is going to come. And until the attack comes, we have to get ready. Today, we have seen that there is no public or private enterprise that is not attacked. So we have to admit that finally, and we have to build up a capacity of resilience and our infrastructure so that we can anticipate and be as resilient as possible. Yes, only a word to go back on what you said, that is very important, on the quality of the men and women that we can recruit in this domain, in this sector, well, I have a little bit of experience in this field, and I find that the youngest are my teachers. So this is an extraordinary opportunity for young people because they come and work on some domains where we, even if we are very good, technically speaking, we always learn from the youngest. So it is different than in other sectors or other professions where the elder teach the youngers. In this case, it is the opposite. And even if this is not a recent phenomenon, this is something that you have underlined. And what I am very impressed about, for Alexander Gillot that was here just before, he is a young gendarmerie officer. He is younger than me, but he has taught me a lot of things. On the defense, what I want to say is that defense is always a work where we have to be on alert. You have to make prevention. You have to align a whole series of measures. You have to try and convince people. You have to be vigilant every time. It is a work that is done in the shadow, contrarily to other works that allow you to shine in the light. But nevertheless, this is a very important work, and our efforts must be recognized down to there. I think that if you want to win an advantage over your attackers, you don't have to hesitate to make this work that seems not to be rewarding, but it is giving value to people. Well, the knowledge of the field, the threats, is very important. So I want to invite Alex Macher, that is Vice President of AMNIS. Alex Macher.
Switching to English here, thank you for being with us. The title of this plenary session draws a parallel between sports and cybersecurity. What sport do you play at Armis? What does the field look like? What game do you play?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So first of all, thank you for having me here today. I think that sports have a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities between what we do in the cyber world. I've been in it for 25 years, and it feels like I've been on the field for all 25 years, playing by all different types of rules and all different games all the time. I think that the similarities between sports and what we do from a cyber perspective really come down to a couple key things. One, understanding your opponents and the ever-evolving and changing nature of your opponents, how they continue to develop and evolve, and then also trying as best you can to play by the rules. When your opponents often don't have rules or don't play by rules, you're still governed by all types of rules that exist, and making sure that you're doing your best to both protect your organizations and also abiding by the rules as best as possible.
If I'm going to keep on drawing this parallel with sports, what is it that you focus on first and foremost? What's the focus that you should? Where should you put your focus on primarily? Is it your weaknesses, or is it your opponent's strengths?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. So I think the things you have to do when it comes to sport parallels and cybersecurity is, first and foremost, you have to understand the sport that you're playing, right? Don't show up to a rugby field with a tennis racket, and be prepared to take on competitors that are ready to play rugby.
I think it'd be a good idea for me to walk on a rugby field with a tennis racket. I feel a lot safer.
Possibly so. And it's, as you see, sport over time, and the same from a cyber perspective, our opponents just keep getting better and more sophisticated. So it's very, very important that you, of course, understand your opponents as best you can, but you typically are only going to know your opponents in the rears. What did they do to infiltrate an organization in recent past or recent history? And you're not really necessarily knowing what they're doing now. So what you really have to do is focus on, what do I know about my organization? What do I have visibility to Do I know all of the points at which somebody could infiltrate my organization? Do I understand, the entire spectrum? Do I understand all of the assets across my organization? For example, if you just think about basic parallels also between, protecting your house and your family and also, cybersecurity. If you don't know that you have a door on a house, you have no way to be able to protect it. You can have all the best security on all your windows, every other door, but if there's a door to your house and it's left open because you know nothing about it, of course, thieves are going to come in. It's the same concept from a hacking perspective. So you definitely want to know what the enemy is up to as much as possible, but it's also very important that you know the sport that you're playing and the rules involved with it.
We talk about resilience, we talk about anticipation as being key. You've been in the business for 25 years. What's the major developments that you anticipate for the coming years? What is it that hasn't taken place yet, but that you anticipate will take place? What should we be all aware of and that you're preparing for, but for which organizations are maybe not ready or not even aware or expecting?
Yeah, good question. The first thing is understanding what's going on. Cybersecurity really throughout my entire career has been very reactionary. We react to events that have happened. We react to something. Somebody gets into the organization, we try to react to them and what had happened, and then we try to band-aid that approach as if they're going to go do the same thing a second time, which, as we know, that's not what they do, because they'll naturally know, okay, if you've solved this problem, I'm not going to spend all this time trying to infiltrate there. I think where everything needs to go and where we need to be paying attention to is proactive cybersecurity. And it really, what that means is that you're having a full view and spectrum of everything that's happening within your organization. Organizations are rapidly changing. Our assets and devices and all the ways in which we interact with data is evolving very rapidly. And if you don't have a really good viewpoint of what's there and how I'm going to go about protecting it, you can't ultimately protect the organization and protect your information as a result. So I think the areas that are going to evolve most rapidly over the coming years are going to be in these areas of proactive cybersecurity. So stop just reacting to events and occurrences when they happen. By the way, we open up the floodgates financially when there's a problem, right? We sit on the money in the interim, and then we're all shocked when there's a problem, and then we spend huge amounts of money to try to solve for that one problem one time. But it doesn't really solve for the bigger issue of, as the world continues to evolve, as assets continue to explode throughout organizations, IoT, other devices continue to be connected to data and infrastructure we have, how do we go about proactively protecting them?
So consequently, what are the new business practices or the new tools that do you expect or do you anticipate will emerge?
Well, of course, at Armis we have one, which is a platform to be able to provide visibility and threat management throughout your organization. I think these are areas of a baseline of foundation. Certainly we see this with our customers, regardless of organizational type. Government agencies around the world in the public sector that are implementing baseline understandings of what's happening and what exists in the environment. Where is my data? Where is my information? And having a true understanding of it. I think other areas that you'll continue to see evolve is more around the way in which we authenticate and allow users into data and information. That continues to be quite complicated. We keep throwing, honestly, better security at it, but at the same time, it gets more and more challenging for users, so then they circumvent the tools that all of us in this room put in place. So I think we have to, again, take proactive approaches, and we have to do it in a way that's simplified and seamless from a user perspective.
Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Et on a un dessin. La meilleure défense, c'est l'attaque. Je voudrais parler de coopération internationale.
The better defense is attack. Then I want to talk about international cooperation, because cybersecurity goes through the cooperation of international and national stakeholders. but maybe the state actors have some abilities of resources and objectives that are different from one another. So which are the key factors of cooperation at international level? International cooperation is the focus of the Europol. Europol is the European agency that is made especially for that. So in our general headquarters in The Hague, we have 250 liaison officers that come from 50 different countries. And so we are able, I would say, to talk about that in an authorized way. I mean, on my side, key factors are mutual knowledge, first of all, that leads to trust, because trust is a key element. The little slogan that has appeared at the beginning, trust is one of the key of defense. Well, I believe in that. Really, trust, mutual trust is fundamental to exchange information. And what Europol is trying to create with all the stakeholders and with all the actors is exactly that. And not only on the side of Europe, but also on the other side of the Atlantic, and with all the people who want to exchange information. I mean, information sharing is another key element. The coordination of actions is another key element, because in the fight against cyber criminality, if we see that this is an international phenomenon, and if we do not, we don't have to forget that. Otherwise, we duplicate our efforts in some areas. And then partnership. If I may summarize, to us, our work is to put people around the table and to create trust. I see two or four things that as fundamental. I mean, we have to break the ice between the international countries, with the different countries, and so have the international cooperation between the different sectors. I mean, law enforcement or police, they can all talk about with cybersecurity and cyber defense. They have to talk about that. With the rugby in the matches, we study the attacks of the opponents. And we see through that how to set up one defense. So how can we make a very good cybersecurity? We have to know the attackers. We have to know the way they work. And this is our topic, our duty to know the attackers. And then the third sector is public-private cooperation, because this topic is a topic that interests everyone and all the world. So this is the clear way in which we have to create trust. Well, at international level, we have established rules. We have leading persons. We should have some rules, such as the Budapest Convention and some additional protocols. So we have some progress. But which are the obstacles that are still there? Which are the obstacles? Maybe there are people who are in favor of rules, right? Well, as a police agent, and as a police, law enforcement officer, well, I cherish rules very much. At international level, we have some rules like the Budapest Convention and the additional protocol that is being negotiated. For us, this is a step ahead in terms of international cooperation, in terms of aligning some groups of rules. We have been working to align rules at European level as much as possible, to harmonize them as much as possible. These are very complicated discussions anyway. I cannot judge where they are and how they evolve. It is clear that after the end of February, we are not living in a very favorable environment to find international agreements, but we need them really very much, these international agreements. From the practical point of view, this would help us, the operational people at Europol, but also in other countries. I mean, having a common basis is important. It is, but the fact of not having that doesn't mean that we have to stay there and not make anything, because even if there are no rules that force people to cooperate, they can cooperate nevertheless. It's not because there is something forcing you to cooperate that you cooperate. We always have the ability of deciding what we want to do, and deciding of cooperating, deciding of opening up to the other people, to the other governments, deciding to sharing information is a key decision so that once again, as an application, we can contribute to the defense of the entire world. This is what we're trying to do in Europol. And what are we doing? What are you doing for the information sharing to provoke this coordination? Well, in the field of investigation support, we have coordination tools. We can provide expertise. We can get into some specific sectors, cryptocurrencies, to trace them. For instance, we have a deciphering platform at the European level that has calculation power, which is very interesting for data cipher that is, in the judicial level. There is not a platform, of course. We do not intercept any communication. It is a platform on some telephones and computers that are seized in some judicial cases, and we try to find a password and crack it. So sometimes we read some things that are very far from reality, and I want to stress that this is not that we are listening to private people, so in Europol. So we provide this this service, and in public-private partnership since 2013, Europol has created some advisory groups. We have 3 of them on 3 specific sectors: banks, telecommunications, cybersecurity. We have more than 70 partners, 30 agreements, let's say memorandum of understanding, with a certain number of organizations, public and private organizations, on which we advise ourselves, we exchange information, and we try to, break the problem so that we can, and break the difficulty so that we can exchange information. We can share our information, and others can share their information with us, so that we know where we are standing, that we can update ourselves, and we can create the trust that is necessary to work on that. For instance, we have produced documents after the cyber threats coming from the Russian aggression against Ukraine. We have created some documents starting from information collected by us, but also by private partners, that we have widespread and disseminated to the entire community, because our target is to have people working all together, to have them all around the same table to share information. Well, you have mentioned the cooperation between private and public sectors. So, and that has to be developed and supported. What other types of cooperation, public-private cooperation at international level, apart from the example that you have given, can you give us? Well, we have thought of other initiatives. For instance, we are carrying out some action days on some sectors. For instance, there is an action day that we have been carrying out for the past 7 years, on people that convoy some, money in a computer digitalized way. I mean, some frauders, etc. So we have several banks that have participated, and they have detected 7,000 of these people for an amount of 62 million euros. So these are concrete actions in which private sector and we, the public sector, can cooperate and can exchange information so to make the bank transactions more secure. In that case, we have been given some investigation trends. So if there is a message that I would like to pass on, is that we have to go out of our little world. We have to open up. And the forum on of cybersecurity is a very important time to do that. We have to share the information that we have, because the information cannot be useful to me, but can be useful to my neighbor, so that the defense line can be solidary. can be based on solidarity. Okay, yes, at international level, in the coordination between private and public sector, I would like to talk about Michel van den Berg about that, the president of CompuCyber.
Alors j'ai envie de dire, je dis un pilier du FIC, parce qu'il n'y a pas de FIC sans Michel van den Berg.
So there are no police agents without without the general, and we have no FIC without Michel van den Berg. So the last year you spoke about a project, and that project is not a project, is a reality nowadays. So Campus Cyber, where are you at the moment? Well, I would like to make a comparison with Alexander, and we want to create the landmark of cybersecurity. It is important, this one, in which we are 1,800 cybersecurity people who work with us can take advantage of all that. We come to the Campus Cyber to share with others without forgetting that we are paid by our different clubs, and so our clubs want us to participate in these projects, and so there has to be a good coordination, and the president of the different presidents of the different clubs assure the coordination. So I would like to thank them. We have spoke about how to work and working for defense. So we have these working group to improve our defense, and Campus Cyber is a competition field, but is the attractive one. I mean, perhaps this is going to attract more people. Campus Cyber is also like rugby. Rugby, we have pillars in rugby, and we need rugby also for us. We need a lot of different pillars, and we have to create a sort of barrier that we can do all together in the sport. When there is a large event, we do that. And in Campus Cyber, we organize the large events and we welcome them. And so this makes a lot of similarities between us and sports, and for Campus Cyber to create security, we're finding a lot of similarities. The more we talk, the more similarities we find. I said the Campus Cyber has been launched in February, and this is this war that we're having now between Ukraine and Russia is also involving the cyber sector in many different ways, and which is the present context that has led to some adjustment, for instance, in your Campus Cyber. Well, the goal of the campus is to share, not to suffer, from something. Now we have a war, so we have asked Campus Cyber to come, the leader of Campus Cyber, to come there to collect the people and to see what we want really in terms of cyber attack. The digital, cyber attack. The first thing we have to do is to be informed. So we have created a database in which we share whatever we learn, whatever we get from this crisis that is taking place today. So our goal, our objective is giving a visibility to the enterprises, but when there is a topic as important as the war that we are having now between Ukraine and Russia, we have to share data, and we have to see how we have to install a behavior. This is going to last, and it's not because there are continuous crises, but this is to last, is to be seen as to last. Now, Campus Cyber, the history is launched, the cooperation among the actors is launched and is now underway. So what else is the focus of your attention now, after what you have already realized? Well, we have two big projects Attractivity, this is one. Attraction is one, you know. We have lack of talent. So we have to see in cybersecurity the size that we have, and we have to tell people what this is good pay, this is good salary, and we want to be attractive. So we are investigating, we are interviewing people coming from the digital training in Paris, and minus than 30% are attracted by us. And in women, if women is, it's less than 20%. So if they have to be attracted by a profession, they have to know cybersecurity. So we have signed a partnership with the Ministry of Education to meet these people as soon as possible at the level of the college, so that we can explain our topic. And when you ask young people, they want the kids, they want to become either members of the fire brigade or nurses or doctor, etc. But no one says cybersecurity. And if they don't start saying that from the very beginning, we will not have enough people to protect our enterprises. And when you have nice people working with you, you have to know how to keep them, how to make it possible for the French company to play at international level, and children have to become cybersecurity managers. So you are a source of inspiration in this case. I think also Cyberspace, the United States, in Campus Cyber, you have public actors, but also end users. I mean, the companies that would benefit of these systems. This is a sort of progress in Campus Cyber. Yes, exactly. Exactly, and we are very proud of that. We have been innovative. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to go beyond what has been done up to now, and we have done it. We are the campus that welcome the beneficiaries, the final, the end clients that have come to work with the ecosystem. We find the administrator, we find the state, we find students. But we also find final, end clients. Otherwise, we don't have that. In the United States, they do the same. They have huge enterprises, and they put experts to work with the entire ecosystem. And I am quite proud of that. Thank you very much. I hope to welcome you next time to see the progress that you would have done from now to then. Thank you very much.
On a parlé de la France, on a parlé.
We talked about France, we talked about Beersheba and the United States, but other countries have adopted a model similar to this one in a few points, and in Ukraine with the Unicity project, and I'm inviting you to watch a video.
Unicity est né d'une vision, c'est que l'Ukraine voit trop de ses talents tech partir. Et que pour retenir ces talents, une des choses à faire, c'est de créer un écosystème. Ils ont accès à des ressources qui leur notamment permettent de monter des entreprises, des startups. Cette vision-là, on l'a traduit en créant un endroit, un lieu, qui s'appelle donc Unicity, sur lequel vous allez trouver tout ce dont vous avez rêvé pour faire partie d'un écosystème de tech. Alors, on a fait beaucoup d'études. Moi, je viens de Silicon Valley. On s'est baladé. On est allé en Chine, on est allé en Israël, on est allé en Europe. On a visité Station F. On a regardé ce qui marchait, on a regardé ce qui marchait moins. Et puis, on a fait ça à la sauce ukrainienne. Ça veut dire une école de code avec 1000 étudiants. Ça veut dire des accélérateurs, un avec UC Berkeley, un avec Cornell. Ça veut dire des incubateurs, ça veut dire des fonds d'investissement, et notamment le fonds ukrainien, Ukrainian Startup Fund. Ça veut dire des événements, plein d'événements, et puis évidemment des boîtes, donc des startups, des grands groupes. Microsoft a son siège chez nous, Bolt, Snapchat. Vraiment cette idée de recréer un écosystème où les gens peuvent se rencontrer, parce que ce dont on se rend compte, c'est que l'innovation, elle arrive quand? Elle arrive quand les gens se rencontrent. On est un projet entièrement privé. On n'a aucune subvention gouvernementale. Alors, on a des financements européens, mais on n'a pas de financement public. On a voulu garder notre entière liberté de manœuvre, on a voulu garder la possibilité d'exécuter notre vision comme on le souhaitait. On a de la chance, on a 25 hectares dans le centre de Kiev, il y aura 30 000 personnes à Unit City, 1 million de mètres carrés, donc c'est Cahors, hein, c'est une petite ville française. Et donc un hôpital, et donc du logement, des écoles, un stade, un hôtel, etc. Évidemment, la liberté, elle a des contraintes, et la contrainte, c'est de trouver le financement et de convaincre. Objectif numéro 1, stopper la fuite des cerveaux. Objectif numéro 2, encourager l'entrepreneurship. La troisième chose qui est très importante pour nous, c'est un lieu. Je crois à l'importance de créer des beaux lieux qui sont inspirants, où on a envie de travailler. Et la quatrième mission, c'est que ce lieu soit sympa avec l'environnement. Et parce qu'on veut avoir un impact. L'innovation arrive par accident et elle n'arrive jamais dans le confort. Elle arrive toujours dans la rencontre. Ça, c'est mon outil principal. Je suis obsédé par ça. Dans tout ce qu'on design, dans tout ce qu'on fait, dans nos événements. C'est comment on force la rencontre. Comment on force. Et de la rencontre naît la collaboration. Alors après, on a tous les outils classiques de la collaboration, les outils, les salles de travail, les salles de design thinking. On a des liens avec d'autres hubs. On a des accords de partnership. On est très friand de tout ça. Une communauté, un écosystème qui n'est pas relié au reste du monde, ça devient assez vite stérile. Et donc pour nous, la création de ponts est très importante. Parmi les visiteurs de Unit City, on a des visiteurs de plus de 60 nationalités qui sont venus à Unit City. On organise des événements internationaux, on a le sommet ukraino-israélien de la tech, on a des événements, on a la French Tech qui est installée à Unit City.
Alors toutes ces initiatives.
Well, all these initiatives encouraging people to get close together, encouraging innovation, will help you face a different challenge, a multitude of solutions the organization have got to develop for detection. For instance, Farid, how do you manage? Well, is it a problem? Is it an issue to have these different technologies to collaborate, and how do we get them to work together and to strengthen their interoperability? It might be very complicated. I mean, technology, yes, you need some. I mean, it's great, but what is the level of dependency you might have with some publishers, distribution? You invest money, you invest in people, on training, and in the 48 months, I mean, you've got to modify or change all your solutions. I want it to be agnostic to technology as much as possible. We need it. We talked about breaking silos. Now we've got more and more sources, more and more open sources, whether it's the industrial sectors, even Silosit, which is for me a true benefit because we invest on that. But I mean, all this means a lot of data, and behind this data, I'm convinced that, well, I trust a lot the human factor. I mean, technology is a true facilitator, but it's got to be mastered. You mustn't depend on it. You've got to keep an agnostic approach about technology. It's not a matter of putting centers and data to make it understandable. I mean, there's true work. How do you crunch this data? How do you make it understandable? How do you identify security pattern or risk pattern? And what are the measures that you're putting in place? The second one is the human factor, which is important. And we're always getting back to that. Lack of skills, shortage in human skill, and I believe a lot in automation also. Thanks to that, we can identify attack schemes and have automatic answers provided. So I'd see technology as making the job of our teams easier, and then you can have the best technology available if you don't have process and the right people. Technology on its own is of no use. I mean, I believe in this people, process, and technology. Laurent Serrurier, place, it's the core of mission of Orange Cyber Defense to combine technological solutions with expertise to deliver an end-to-end service to our customers for their benefit. Technology, we try as much as we can permanently to discover it, because every day there are innovations and you've got to catch these innovations. We look for new technologies. We've got more than 70 partners, and when we find one element of innovation, we assess it. And assessment is on its performance, but also the ease of use. As everybody here in this room, I mean, we don't have time to train people. I mean, we need them to be as quickly as possible operational. So the technology, which is operating but complex to put in use, ends up being less efficient. So once we have chosen the technology, we check its ease of use, and then we bring it onto the market. A lot of startups, their challenge is not to find money. So far, there used to be, so far there is some, but I mean, but we've got to find clients. We've got an important database in France and in Europe. We make them face the market, and we progress with them. So the combination of a product and a service equals a solution. That's why we've got the FIC for men and women to meet with one another, to talk about complementarity between man and technology. I'm going to invite Karim Ben-Simran to come and say a few words, the CEO of Darktrace. Good evening, all. I suggest we go through an immersion and a feedback on artificial intelligence for the protection of international events. And in a sports structure, we want to emphasize the issues linked to sports events and how we are faced with cyber challenges or e-challenges, which are somewhat special. The sports industry is targeted on notions which are of activism, as we've seen that in Rio Tokyo Olympic Games, when the broadcasts were impacted or data theft contributed to exfiltration of several giga of data on customers. Cyber terrorism. So cyber activism and cyber terrorism, because the limit between the digital world and the physical world has disappeared as ice melted. Given the renown of a big event like a football cup or Champions League, there are geopolitical stakes in relation to foreign powers, and it's relatively simple, without scaring you, that it is relatively simple through a cyber attack to create physical problems. So if I can give you an example, it's to say on a stadium or during a concert, when we've got a gauge on the pitch defined by security and safety, and when the pitch can only host 15,000 people, if the cyber criminal can tackle the ticketing or modify the site manifest and to bypass this limit, linking that with the access control and bypassing the fact that the ticket can be used several times, the cyber attack, which is not very complicated to implement, becomes straight away critical on the site, because we're supposed to have 10,000 people on the pitch and we end up with 30,000, so you can imagine the consequences. Third aspect is, obviously, we heard about the mercantile aspect, because the cyber criminals know that that with the international exposure and given the very limited resources to provide a very quick answer, if an international event is impacted or a stadium impacted by a ransomware, there will be very few other options but to pay the ransom money. I often talk about a cyber paradox, and with all the respect I have for your respective industries, it remains a cyber paradox because protecting a stadium for an international event is the most complex thing, and I've been able to deal with that for the last 20 years. Why is it? Because we've got a mission to protect our assets and our services, and on the other hand, we are to manage the event and to authorize the organizer to run the show. We have to authorize unknown people, subcontractors of subcontractors, to interact with the infrastructure of the stadium or the arena. And in most cases, we discover the potential border effect on the day. When the stadium is the host, the stadium is rented, there's going to be a legion of subcontractors who on the day will have access to the LAN, use Wi-Fi to be able to interact with giant screen. And all these devices, which are brought by freelancers mostly, are not managed at all, neither by them nor by us. So it's a cyber paradox, and it's a constant challenge we have to face. The second problem is about IT and OT issues. We had a revolution, a digital revolution. We went from the analogic to the digital world. So in the event organization world and in stadium, I mean, all the systems which were managed by general services or technical services, procurement, because of the IP migration, they were managed by IT teams. So in terms of project portfolio and systems to be managed, it has increased a great deal with an increase in competence which had to be done on spec. So if you go from an analogic system to an IP system, the surface of attack is multiplied by 1,000. How did I answer directly and simply to this complexity? Because of the technology world, we were faced with finding answers, but in a standalone way. We had migration plans in the cloud. We needed to have an XDR, but even in deploying all that, in implementing all that nicely, we were still unable to have a full view, 360 degrees of all the systems of the company. And it's a risk because you know better than I that the part which is the most dangerous one in the iceberg is the hidden one. In the case of an cyber attacks, we can't defend against something we don't know or we can't see. So that led me to call on artificial intelligence, giving it a chance. We've got two main criteria which are very strong in the world of event organization, is MTTK and MTTR. Time it takes to detect an event and the time to limit this incident. And in the event organization world, when we've got a match lasting 90 minutes, it's not possible for the smallest thing to happen and for the detection, analysis, and response rate to be of less than 5 seconds, which no person can do. So the idea was to give an opportunity to artificial intelligence, which is self-learning, which is not trained, and see how capable it is. So in the world of events, as SDSI, I'm coming from Singapore, sorry, because I caught a cold, actually. The idea was to let AI discover the whole process or the business. So on a stadium, we've got the business as usual, the normal days in the week where we're going to focus on the IT assets management, office and corporate. We've got the event world. AI has got to understand both worlds, what is a non-event world and what is an events world. And in the particularity of the approach that I used is to have enough time to leave AI discover the whole of the different modes, non-event, event, and in event mode, what is a football match, a rugby match, and a concert. Because again, they are approaches which are completely different. So cyber criminals innovate constantly and go faster than the defense in this game of cat and mouse. I mean, we were one step behind, and using AI capable of detecting the subtle deviation without basing itself on rules of signature. It was an innovative approach for me, and it was proved on the field, and that's how I have implemented it on a lot of well-renowned stadium. We talked about AI on the defense side. It is still a reactive mode. It's not a fireman where we have to analyze in a very short time. AI does it very quickly, but I mean, we're doing still that in a reactive mode. How can AI and this change in paradigm, how could it deal with prevention and to bypass pain test? Because if I make a parallel with my pain test obligations, we had to have 2 to 4 pain tests in a year. It was more to deal with standardization. In terms of budget, we had to reduce the scope. So when we're looking for pain tests, if we have external pain tests, we share information with this pain tester to limit the scope and limit the envelope. So we didn't have a perfect vision of the risks. And what we managed to do on artificial intelligence on the defense part, we used it in the offensive part, simulating attack. And it's attack simulation because there are going to be true attack simulated but non-impacting 24/7 to prevent any risk. So artificial intelligence will start on a mode of blank sheet of paper, 0, without any information other than the name of your company, and AI will look at different attack vectors or factors to what is possible to discover about your company, and the more direct way to proceed to service disruption or to export your data. So as you can see on this slide, it's really an approach which is a 360-degree approach in real time, discovering assets, managing weaknesses, critical intelligence, attack surface management, penetration testing, team exercise, and as I explained it, attack simulation. Again, the use of artificial intelligence, whether it's from a defensive or offensive standpoint, is not there to replace the human being, but to enhance it. And I invite you to come to me if you have questions or on the social network or on the forum, and I'll share my experience if you're interested in it.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Karen Benzema. And I would thank all the panelists, and thank you very much, gentlemen, to take part in this panel. Thank you for your participation. It was really highly interesting. We've got a drawing to close this session.
La cybersécurité est un sport d'équipe.
Cybersecurity is a team sport. Is your team ready? Gentlemen, thank you very much for your input. I will invite you to leave the stage, and I'm going to ask General Bourget, commander of the Gendarmerie for cyberspace, and Zona Darcourt, chairman of the jury of the prize of Startup FIC, to come up on stage.
Tenez, venez avec moi, on va se mettre ici.
Okay, come with me. We'll move over here. Maybe you can present the FIC Startup Award. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be with you for the second running year to congratulate the laureate of the Startup FIC. Since the launching of this prize, I mean, we identified gems which managed to show light at the French level and European and international level. I think that this year we've got 4 nice startups, but we brought changes though. This year, first of all, we've opened the startup prize, the FIC Startup Prize, to European startups. In the plenary session, we understood that it was a European challenge. It was at the core of the French presidency for the European Union. So for the FIC Startup Prize, we opened it to European startups thanks to the EXO collaboration. And we had, right from the first step, 20 European startups who applied, who became candidate. We wanted to introduce also a 4th prize, OT, Cybersecurity for Industries. Again, we heard that the attack surface is extending. We talked about the IT, OT conversions using the cloud, using the edge, 5G. So with this attack surface broadening, we can't secure your operations in the same way. We wanted to promote the startup securing the environment, the industrial environment and system. We've got 4 prizes, therefore, to 4 awards to give. I wanted to congratulate the juries, state, investment funds, private sector representatives, and this jury spent some time to study 75 files, auditioning 14 finalists, and having a very interesting debate. So I thank the jury for their commitment, and I think now we're ready. I announced General Boget, who had to come on stage, but General Lecouvre told us that cybersecurity is a team sport and there are replacing members. Can you call for the...
Avoir nos lauréats sur scène.
Nos lauréats, sont-ils là, nos lauréats?
Les 4 gagnants.
Venez, venez.
The 4 laureates coming on stage.
Venez, monsieur. Bravo.
Welcome, congratulations.
Bonjour, pardon.
Sorry.
Restez ici, pardonnez-moi, voilà.
Stay here, okay. The hostess are going to move into the light. You deserve it, gentlemen.
Ah, voilà. On en a lancé 4, alors voilà, on y est presque. Bonjour, oui, notre
4 laureates are expected, not available. So I talked about the cybersecurity for industries. The winner of the cybersecurity industries is NanoCorper. Congratulations. First of all, I want to thank the jury, first of all, and the whole FIC organization. As first laureate of this prize, we bring this prize as high as our ambitions, but we obviously super proud. First time we are candidate, we get this prize. We selected by this highly qualified jury. It's a very big honor for NanoCorp. Now, our second laureate is the Arthur Prize. And Black Noise is the winner.
Ils sont très jolis.
They look very nice. I would like to thank the jury, but for the quality of the exchanges we had, I would like to thank the FIC for this authorization, for this these discussions we had. That's very interesting, very rich discussions. And I would like to congratulate the other winners and our Swiss comrades, the Swiss colleagues, for this good and fair competition.
Et donc, on passe au
Moving on to the third prize, the jury prize 2020, Mindflow is the winner.
Bonsoir à tous.
Good evening all. Thank you to the jury for your trust. Mindflow, we are code. We're going to free some time for cyber analysts, and our mission is to make PsyCops common use, and it's an honor to be able to have some light on our project to carry our vision and our ambitions further,
Qui va redonner en fait du temps de qualité.
Which will give some quality time to the analysts. So thank you to the whole Mindflow team, to the jury, and thank you to the team with whom we did an exceptional job these last 12 months. So this is the early stage of our adventure, and we'd be delighted to see you all next year at the next FIC session.
Et donc, le gagnant, le vainqueur.
And the winner of the FIC 2022 edition is Strong Network.
Alors, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Je vais encore le dire, enfin, on en a parlé il y a quelques semaines.
We talked about it a few weeks ago when Emma found us. We're a Swiss startup, and we're very honored. I couldn't believe it when I got the phone call. It was a great emotion we felt. I wanted to thank the FIC for opening the contest to Europe as a whole. Thanks to all the people who studied our project, our file, to weigh innovation in cybersecurity. I would like to thank my co-founder, who's not with me tonight, Ozenko Dradic, who studied in Switzerland, but who's of Serbian origin. Switzerland is a small country, so we've got to be international right from the start. And it's important for us because we want to validate also our solutions abroad before adopting them in Switzerland. I think it's a good habit, and it's thanks to contests such as FIC that we can manage that without taking it as far as the States. It gives us a validation as a European entity. Also thank from my first employee to the last one who joined us, because they take a gamble on their future. So they come to be part of the adventure. Thank our investors, because they will look at that. They will watch it, pardon. And we've got European investors, and we've got obviously the Finnish Open Ocean trusted that with a round of fundraising of 52 million to continue with our extension. And I would like to thank my family, because you met my wife a few weeks ago, and she's been a great support to me. And she doesn't see me often enough, but that's it. As they understand the passion I have in cybersecurity and to create solutions. And thank you all. Thank you, everybody, today. Congratulations. Final word? No, well, thank you very much, General Bourget, for having joined us. Thank you to all the laureates. Thank you all. To wrap up this plenary session, thank you. I invite you to leave the stage. One last celebration with the prize of the book, and I'm going to ask Latin Oar and Siloa to join us on the stage.
Bonjour. Bonjour, venez, je vous en prie. Bonjour, messieurs. Bravo, je vous donne un micro en général.
Good morning again, and I give you the microphone.
Eh bien, écoutez, pour ce prix,
Yes, for this prize, for this award, I would give the floor to the jury president. For this FIC Book Award ceremony, we have an exceptional president. Didier Fortier and Jacques Ebra are here also with us, and so I give the floor to the president, and I will ask the president to tell us what you have thought of this FIC 2022. Well, you see the participants, they're all smiling here. There is also a woman, so thank you very much for being here. I took the choice of being very visible and I dressed myself in green. So it's always more and more, frightening, but thanks to your works, you allow us to detect better and to have a long-term vision. So we have had 25 works. It's been very difficult to choose among them because they were all good. And since I have the honor to be the president of this jury in this third edition, we have to decide with Denis and Jacques unanimously on each one of you. And so I wanted to say bravo to each one of those who are not get a reward, but believe me, there was a very superb group of work. So bravo to the authors and bravo to the editions that allow you to publish your books. So now we are delivering the words. Okay, cybersecurity. So you can go on with the slides. So Melcat, Xavier was about to negotiate the end of a program, so he's not with us, but the book is very important. I don't know if you want to say a word. Well, I would like to thank. I have to speak on behalf of Xavier Leonetti, and I have to tell you that he was very moved and honored about this prize, because it's a sort of consecration. The FIC is a very important event, and it's going to confirm his actions and braveness to continue with his work. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you very much. And now, the following is the Président Défense. We have awarded this prize, Cyberdefense, and Sébastien Yves-Laurent. He is there, yes. Congratulations. So the conflict crimes in the cyberspace is really a topic of our days. So I invite you all to read this book, and cyber defense is fundamental. Well, thank you very much for awarding me this prize. I'm quite honored. This is a very good prize, and I thank you very quickly because the best speeches are the shortest, and I have other people behind us. I would like to thank the authors that have accompanied me. I have put together jurists, politologists, American and French. I would like to thank the publishing house with Daniel Vance, that develops and support some social works on the cyber. The topic is to study these issues of conflict, criminality, but also regulation on the technical systems such as the cyber systems at international level. This is a huge working side for the social sciences, and I'm very proud to have been able to publish this volume with them. So I thank the jury and the authors that have trusted me, and it's been translated in Wiley with a huge number of copies sold, and the essential thing is that it is available also in English. Now, the next one.
Il est ici. Il est ici.
À Jean-Gabriel Ganassia.
Jean-Gabriel Ganassia. Bravo.
Alors, le prix recherche universitaire, comme son nom.
The Research University Prix Award is an award that crowns the research work. And most of all, we have several types of works, and this one, despite its technicalities and its richness, can be read quite easily. And so, bravo, because you have to know how to write. And, you know, the objective of everyone who writes something is to be read. So you have fulfilled your task. Well, thank you. I am honored. What you have said is moving, because you have said that it is a long work. It's a work of reflection on the effects of digitalization. I am a researcher in artificial intelligence, but I have a background as a philosopher. And so I've done this behind my parents because they couldn't know about what I was doing. But this is, you know, philosophy is something important to approach this new world. The real dangers that you treat here are not the ones that are acknowledged and recognized. Many fears of the large public do not correspond to a reality of danger. So I wrote 5 years ago a book on technological security. And I thought I had to go further up and question myself on the different ethical charters. And that's what I've done in this book, starting from a sort of anthropology of the digitalization. And I invite all the people who are here to read it. Thank you very much again. I'm quite moved. We go on.
Aurélie Jean est désolée, elle ne peut pas être là.
Aurélie Jean cannot be here with us. She's one of the specialists of artificial intelligence, and the book that she wrote is The Algorithms Are They the Law? So we have to move on to the other one, the other awarder, Laurent Mondo. She has published with other authors and work on the cyber crisis management. So we have to mention this book as a practical guide, because for the large public this is making them available a lot of knowledge. So we have found it very practical, and we found out that it could be read by a large public. So thank you for this work and congratulations. Thank you very much to the jury members, to all the participants. It is real that sometimes I've asked if I'm fierce about and proud about this things. No, I say no, because there are huge, brilliant authors, but they have not come here. So I feel deep recognitions and for this award. I am not an expert. I leave that to more brilliant people. But what I want to be is a bridge between the experts and the large public, and mainly my students, to whom I'm in debt.
Voilà. Donc, j'ai le plaisir de remettre l'ouvrage collectif.
So I move on to the Damien Morgal team. It's a collective work. We have worked together a few years ago. I know that there is a huge application of this team, and this work is a good translation of the engagement and participation in the cyber research world. Well, thank you. I would like to thank the entire team. I mean, this book has been written with 72 fingers. So you make the calculation and you will see how many people have written this book. There are lawyers, communication experts, and I will not say who is who. It is a good team of people. Thank you to the jury for choosing it. We wanted to share some things, ethical, so that in group we could understand how piracy works, so that we get protected by it. We could do that even if some people among us are very old, and we're talking about a very young topic. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And I would like to say bravo to the jury. And the publishing house IST is getting the last prize for the diversity and consistency of all the works that you have presented to this cyber security prize. For us, this is very important, and I would like to tell to the people who would like to write that I have published up to March the 31st and will go on up to the end of 2022. Well, they will be most welcome to the next award of 2023. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for awarding me this award for the publishing sector. I thank you all for this on behalf of the entire editorial team, and a word for my colleagues that have worked in team for the work that has received a prize. I have to tell you that the book in paperwork has not died yet. Okay, thank you to all the people who have received the prize, and this is concluding our plenary session. Tomorrow we're going to have another plenary that I will animate here with Alex Berger, and he's a legend. So for those who do not know him, I invite you to come here to know it. We will have in remote data scientist and Christian Claude. This plenary session can be viewed again on the YouTube channel INCYBER. So you have here all the details to connect to that YouTube channel. So I wish you a nice evening, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you to all of you.